Hello, welcome back to It's Just Another Day. Today we're talking about more layoffs as a result of AI. And so this is quite the story. I had mentioned in a previous video about the different layoffs coming when implementing AI into different company organizations. But before I get into that, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, really means a lot. And share the video with others that might be in a tech space that might need to hear this. So the company called Block, it used to be Square if you're familiar with the credit card transaction software. So this person in the article, they're going to tell the story of someone who's laid off in one of these recent firings. And so I'll link it down in the description. But what happened, the person's name, Kenji, the author of the article talked to this person and gave a sobering warning. This should be something we should all really start taking as a caution, taking preparation for what may happen. I actually just saw someone this morning post that they were laid off in a mass layoff with their company. Still have yet to hear back if it's something specific, so waiting to hear back on that. But so in late 2022, when ChatGPT was first coming out, this guy Kenji in the article didn't really understand it, didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. And so many outsiders thought it was this huge breakthrough. And this guy Kenji's like, okay, yeah, it could be helpful. There was a big fear that AI was going to take everyone's jobs. He thought, it's overblown. I'm a programmer, my job's safe. There's a lot of stuff that, I can do that I don't think machines are going to take over anytime soon. So there were different tools that he was using at Block, different AI tools. And, if you're not familiar with Block, it used to be Square. If you ever go and buy anything at a store, especially like a little boutique or a little restaurant or something, instead of being at a register, they'll have this little square thing plugged into their phone and they swipe your card. So that's what this company does. So, the AI that they were using to help with their programming was getting better and better. And, he found himself delegating more to this AI program to help him write better code and get things even better with their software. At some point, he said, you look around and say, I'm not doing that much work anymore, am I? So, it's definitely, if you think about in the past when they started coming out with computers, they kept saying, you'd be able to do things faster, you have more time to yourself, and so on. But really what happens typically is you do things faster, you free up time, you're able to do more things. So they just keep piling more stuff onto you, and you need less people to do it. So that's kind of where this story is headed. So in the article, Kenji says he still believed that his mind, his knowledge was still completely necessary to the company. He said, at some point I could be redundant, but that time isn't now. It's way down the list. It's going to be years. So last week it says Kenji was among the more than 4,000 employees who were laid off at Block. There's a ton of people. And it wasn't just a restructuring. Block wasn't calling its people because they're not going bankrupt or anything. The CEO, everyone recognizes the name, Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey used to run Twitter. And Jack Dorsey made the decision, I'm going to fire 40% of my workforce instantly. And that should be a big warning when someone that big in the tech industry decides it's time to let that many people go and still compete in the space. Dorsey told investors a significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do it better. And again, that was one of the things I'd mentioned in my previous video where you're getting to the point where these AI systems can do things so much more quickly and pretty accurately. I mean, they're not perfect. And whenever I've used AI, and I've only started implementing it, it does always caution, confirm results, make sure that it's accurate, can't be perfect, etc. It's pretty amazing. So the most ominous line in Dorsey's letter to his investors came toward the end. He says, and catch this, within the next year, I believe the majority of companies will reach the same conclusion and make similar structural changes. That is frightening. I mean, this is a guy this is one of the top people in tech saying, this is what's coming, and I know it's coming, and this is unavoidable. And companies are always stretched to provide better pricing, and also better stock price. And so a big part of that is reducing costs and maximizing their value. So, a big part of that is typically headcount. I know so many people have worked for corporations where they get let go because corporations come through especially at the end of the year and say, we're going to cut a bunch of our headcount and make the books look better, and our stock price will go up, half a point. It's crazy. So Kenji, the person in the article, he had built systems to detect fraud automatically. Part of a broader shift in finance has reduced the need for humans to review transactions for signs of suspicious activity. Again, these are things that people used to have to look at and say, is this a real transaction? And I have some of an idea of the space that, when a transaction goes through, there's various factors that it looks at maybe what they're putting in, where they're located by their IP. And so this system, usually run by people, and they would have to make these decisions. AI is looking at it and spitting out an answer way faster, probably a lot more accurately. And so the reality is that someone whose work helped automate other people's jobs is now being automated, overall. So Kenji used to use the AI to make his determination. And so now the AI itself is doing it. Why do we need Kenji? We found it's fraud. Let's just go ahead and we'll block it. I don't need to tell a person. And so that's where this is headed. For years, the standard advice was simple: become the automator, lest you become automated. 5 years ago, machine learning engineering was the future-proof career, and suddenly it wasn't. And Kenji says, I do feel a little bit like a horse and buggy in the age of the automobile. So he did what any good employee would do. Dorsey's like, hey, let's use this AI tech to do a better job. And so that's what Kenji did. That's what all these people did. So they embraced the tech, and he became a power user of their homegrown AI tool. So this is something, they didn't get Chat GPT, they didn't use Claude. They did something that they developed themselves. And some people say, well, they hired too many people during the pandemic, so they're just kind of scaling back. But this is something where 7 former block workers say they used AI to varying degrees and weren't convinced it would replace them. And then it's just a big shock in the industry. So so what are your thoughts? What do you think are the next type of industries to go through this? What are some examples that you've seen where you have companies that are embracing AI more and more? It is something that is unfortunately becoming more and more of an issue in the industry, or not the industry, but in our everyday lives, and more companies are embracing this. And I really fear that there's going to be more and more companies that have the same realization. Why do we need to pay all these people? Why do we need to pay all these benefits? when you just have machines running this. And it's kind of almost what they did with a lot of the industry, 30 years ago, where companies said, hey, we can move our business offshore and pay people in other countries a fraction and not have to pay them anything other than, a daily wage. It's a pittance compared to the American worker, and not have to pay benefits and all this, not have to buy our own buildings, or if they do, the cost to build a building in, trying to think of an example, like Thailand or India or Central America, the cost to do that is so much less than, American industry. So I think we're starting to see something similar happen, where a lot of companies are downscaling their buildings, and like I know of one big company that had this huge headquarters that they sold the building, moved to a much smaller space, and have less people, and still running strong. It's frustrating to see, because anytime you see anything like this, it affects people and families and households. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Are you part of a company that you fear this is going to happen to you? And what are those examples? Really, really appreciate if you subscribe, and definitely keep coming back. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.